but welcome to our presentation of VMAP, the EVS Media Asset Platform. We're very excited to show the world what we've been working on here, and I plan to keep this part of the presentation as short as possible so that we can get to a live demo, which I think will be much more interesting. Joining me is Nestor Amaya from Ottawa, from far away across the ocean, as I am in Europe.
Hey everyone.
With Igor, who joins us from Paris, so less, not so far, but still probably 40 milliseconds away for those who care about such things.
Good evening or good morning or
Yes.
good day, everyone.
Yes, good morning and good evening and wherever you are. Welcome and thanks for joining us. So it's 6:02, so I think we can begin. So several years ago, EVS announced our intention to transform our portfolio and, in fact, our thinking from products to solutions and then, in fact, beyond. Bringing these solution families into a true ecosystem. Born from this vision is VMAP, our media asset platform. VMAP has been imagined as a single platform to connect all production activities, from live acquisition, story creation, production, post-production, and through to distribution and monetization. VMAP is built on a foundation of microservices managed by Kubernetes and supports flexible deployment models, including fully on-prem, fully cloud-based, and of interest to a lot of our customers, hybrid, which is what you'll hear us refer to as balanced computing. In practice, the VMAP platform relies on three main engines, which are available across all of the EVS solutions, including Liveception, Mediaception, and Media Hub. The core engine is a collection of applications that support core functions, as the name would suggest, such as baseband ingest control, file import and export, search, browse, and playout. The data engine is responsible for data input and management, be it human loggers, advanced AI engines, or other automations. And finally, the gate engine supports a well-documented, fully featured API to enable best-of-breed third-party integrations. All of these engines contribute to create a truly integrated media environment, bridging live production all the way to distribution. VMAP impacts all of the EVS solutions, creating what we like to refer to as the EVS Premium Live ecosystem. For example, traditional replay operators can take full advantage of all of the metadata and logging information that is easily searchable in VMAP, perhaps created by loggers that are off-site, to find the best content and find it more quickly. They can use an advanced but easy-to-learn web-based editing tool called Create to build more compelling stories. In the newsroom, news journalists can better research and prepare their stories. They can storyboard or even edit directly themselves in this web-based editing application, or they can organize and perhaps hand off to an editor, maybe using Adobe Premiere Pro or Avid or other preferred NLEs. VMAP also supports the distribution and monetization of that content. That could be content owners who are distributing to their rights holders, or making selected content available to partners or other affiliates. It could be colleagues who are working remotely, or even granting access to external parties who are only allowed to see and download very specific bits of content. For example, they only have access to finished pieces or edited content. VMAP sits at the heart of the entire EVS asset management portfolio, bringing additional functionality to our existing tool sets. The platform offers our customers a truly end-to-end environment based on the fast and reliable ingest and playout that we are well known for. The platform enables the most efficient use of resources and offers the fastest turnarounds. VMAP sports a large selection of applications, each one purpose-built for a specific function in the production chain, be it management or creative. Our open APIs even allow for third parties to embed parts of VMAP into their own tools. For example, allowing for content browsing and playback directly from within an NRCS system, or allowing us to embed other web-based applications directly in our interface. As you can see from this workflow illustration, we have the tools to sit at the heart of any media operation, from ingest, file import, through to the creative storytelling tools, and ultimately to play out an archive. VMAP allows you to streamline every part of the production chain. But we do understand that sometimes it is better for us to fit into an existing facility or workflow, so we can certainly offer a subset of our capabilities. For example, an offering of just ingest that feeds one of our certified solutions partners. So that being said, that's, I think, enough PowerPoint, and of more interest now is a live demo. So as I have introduced Igor and Nestor, they are going to collaborate with me on the demo. So Nestor, who is far away in Ottawa, I'm in Europe, by the way, sorry if I did not mention that, I'm in the headquarters here in Liège. Nestor is going to begin the process of ingesting content, of adding metadata, of logging, and then Igor and I are going to actually collaborate and work with the content that Nestor is creating and actually start working with the stuff that he has begun. I see him backstage on the presentation. Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, everyone. I see my, you can see that I'm actually at home, sharing from Ottawa, Canada, 100 milliseconds away, a connection into the VMAP system. So this is all web driven. I'm going to log in here with my account. And as my role is a system administrator, I have access to all of the different applications. So create, cut, import, ingest, etc. And my role today as a producer will be to start an ingest and create a rough cut and hand that sequence or that storyboard over to Mike for collaboration while Mike is sitting in Europe. So here I will go directly into the ingest application where we see an XT server. Of course, there's different servers available, but here focusing on XT server with these 6 record trains. I'm going to select a couple channels, so getting them together. And as you can see here, I'm going to drag a timeline back in time, so near what is now in my time zone, 9 past 12, and into the future. So of course I can go back in time because of the loop record function. EVS is always running, and I have access to start recording content back in time. You can see that the record name has been created, a default template for the record name has been created by the media manager. This is the recorder number, the date, the time, etc. I can overwrite that if I want to, but I'll leave it as is. On the right is a metadata profile. We can select a whole bunch of different profiles or even multiple profiles, but in this case I won't. I'll keep it simple. News event. The red denotes a field that is required. So who is the cameraman in this case? My colleague, Serge. The location, Ottawa. Now, where do I want that ingest to land? I'm going to select my folder, NAMA, media. And at this point, I can now select who I want to share that with. Maybe no one, maybe my groups, or I can customize to select a set of users and or groups. So in this case here, I will select Igor. I will select Mr. Shore. And why not, I'm going to select my group. Well, I can select a whole bunch of different groups. Sorry, I selected a whole bunch by default. Now, I will create the record. And you see that that's started now. Okay. While that's running, I can go to this little widget up here and trace to see where to see the progress of that recording.
And I'm going to make a fine point of that, Nestor, while you're doing this, that familiar territory for our existing customers, but perhaps less familiar for new folk. Nestor, in fact, began that recording event well in the past, a couple minutes. I didn't notice exactly when, but the ingest block will tell you. We are always in record. As Nestor said, the loop record function guarantees that we're capturing content. So that's part and parcel of what EVS brings to the table, and one of our most well-used features in the EVS world. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, thank you, Mike. And again, there are different server types available, right? This happens to be an XT server, but of course, all of our server line is available. So now I will navigate over to the cut application. The cut application giving me the ability to rough cut the content that's being recorded. It remembered from my last interaction with the tool, the folder that I was in, but now I will go into my media folder. I will refresh, and I should now see at some point, yes, there we go. I see 2 growing files. Okay, so these were the names, the default names that were given by the application. And I will load, by double clicking on that file, the asset into my player. And I will start playing that asset. What I'm going to show now is, we'll call attention to a couple of things. One is Mike and Yegor are both collaborating on that asset in parallel as I am talking to you. There's a whole bunch of shortcut keys that are accessible. Those shortcut keys I can always refer here under the little person icon, keyboard shortcuts. So, the IJKL, the traditional IJKL, I can jump back and forth with AS, etc. Nice thing about this is I can also access the user manual. That's all easily accessible, all from one place. Okay, so I see my player is playing here. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to do a mark in. I'm going to start playing again. Let's go. L to go faster for a mark out. And now Control E to subclip. I'm not particularly fond of that default name, so I'm going to give it a name for the via map live. Whoops. Live presentation. And again, select the folder, the target folder, create. I could play around with the metadata profile if I wanted to, but you'll notice that it inherited the metadata profile from the last interaction.
And I'll point out, sorry, I'm going to point stuff out while we go along here. Notice that Igor and I are logging this asset. So both Igor in Paris and me in Liège, Belgium, are contributing and helping you and working in a collaborative fashion. So those are points in time. So you can see the kind of metadata we've added, the time-based metadata. You can click on those things. It will transport you to them. You can search against all of those things. And again, we stress the collaborative nature of what we're trying to achieve here.
Exactly. Thank you, Mike. So now I navigate to my subclip folder where I will find my VMAP Live clip. I'll play that. I've loaded that into the browser, to the viewer. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a sequence VMAP storyboard to collaborate, to then hand off to Mike. So Mike will then take over. So I'll put that in my sequences folder. My sharing's already all good. Submit. And again, as a producer, I'm just going to rough cut this thing. So I'm going to drag my clip into the sequence. And you know what? I just remembered that I wanted another angle. So I'm going to go back to the parent and select a different in, out, and drag that directly without even creating a subclip. I'm just going to drag that little bit of content right into my storyboard. And at this point now, I have a storyboard that I'm ready to hand off to Mike. And at this point, I will hand the control over to Mike. So I'm going to stop sharing and allow Mike to continue. Thank you, Igor, for all the logging effort.
You're always welcome.
Point out that there are a lot of other tools available within the VM app, but today is a very short presentation. So in addition to Cut, there is a manage application similar to Cut, but maybe Mike will have some time to show us the rest of it. Thanks, everyone.
Yep, so I'm going to pick up exactly as Nestor says. I'm going to pick up where he left off. Let me share here, share. So you should see me now. So I am thousands of miles away. And again, I'm using the same assets that Nestor was looking at. We are contributing across distance as if we are in the same place. So I know I introduced a lot of concepts there. We can talk. And by the way, you are free to ask us questions in the chat as you wish, and we will carve out some time at the end. So notice one point I want to make, the folder construct here on the left is a virtualization, not to make too geeky or fine a point of it, but it's not indicative of a file system on storage. That means I can do whatever I want here. I am not constrained by storage or folders or whatever. I am free to organize this as I wish. A couple of things I will mention as I go along here. Notice how we handle these metadata tags. So as I said, Igor and I were busily logging against this thing. So there was a yellow card that I saw, and I like that, so I logged that. Notice how we present data to the users. The goal here is to be as simple and intuitive as we can. Forgive my American centricity here, I suppose, for using an NFL player. But the data, the source of this data can be external things. So that image, for example, could come from an external source. All of these values could have come from an external source. The point in time, that is the time code that I have used here, could also come from an external source. As we discussed, this is a collaborative tool. So in, out, there's a shot I have stumbled upon, I like. I'm going to.
Hey, Mike, if I can jump in for a second.
Of course, absolutely.
You made a really good point. At no point in my presentation did I create any new content. It was all references to content. Exactly the point here. So these are references. We're not creating new media. Of course we can. Of course there are use cases and needs and desires to externalize from the system. I need to post to social channels. I need to deliver to somebody outside of a system. Of course we can do that. I can partial restore. That is, I can create a new clip from just these in and out boundaries and just flatten that. Likewise, I could use that same business to do partial restore from archive. So that's how we imagine the world, that this thing that is VM app is a user interface that allows all of these things and simplifies all of those production activities. So I'm going to now pick up Nestor's work, which I believe he put in his folder. So let me look in there. Oh, and one point I did not make, but I will. So here's his VM App Live storyboard. I've now opened this in our fully web-based editor called Create. Now, I know these things don't always translate well over screen share and over remote things, but I'm doing JKL now. I am an editor by trade, and you live and die by these sorts of keystroke and keyboard shortcuts. For those who don't know, who may be new to the system, by the way, they are all displayed here. So I don't have to guess. I can obviously go look.
And I can now match frame to this point. And now I'm in a real editing tool. Okay, and as you can see, the way the tracks lay out here is intuitive. There should be no doubt in anyone's mind that I'm grabbing a trim roller and I'm choosing to trim this shot either earlier or later. I can ripple that effect or not, as you know, these are traditional editor effects. I hit a backslash key, and now I've added a quick transition there. I need to tighten this up a little bit, so I'll go right there. I'll go in there and I will tighten this up a little bit. So now I'm starting to craft edit this thing. Okay, a couple of things that I will show you from my previously created sequence. We support multiple video tracks. We support picture-in-picture effects, split screens, color correction. So for example, I have a color correction effect on this clip, and I have a crop on that clip, and I'm free to adjust in real time. So notice how my preview is tracking what I'm doing. This is all web-based, and I am doing this all in real time with a real interaction. I'm doing frame by frame. Again, I'm doing JKL. The performance and the responsiveness of the interface is really, really critical to us. We spend lots of time and effort on making sure that the user experience is in fact a good one.
I can confirm that even from Canada, it's very zippy, very responsive.
Good, awesome. So a couple of things. I have now moved to the, sorry, I should not click so quickly, I'm sorry. I have opened the launch window on the left, and I've moved to the manage application because I want to discuss a few things here. First, we are keeping a genealogy of all of the media. So this clip, Face in the Crowd, that I made, you saw me make that earlier, happens to have a high res, happens to be XDCAM 50, happens to have a 5 megabit H.264 proxy, and it happens to be involved in various things. So first, we maintain audit logs. So we know who did what where. It also tells me what folder it's contained in. It also tells me what sequences. Now let me find Nestor's clip, which he put in his folder. So I will start looking at some of his clips. So here's his VMAP clip.
My folder, Mike, make it a favorite.
Yeah, good. So by the way, yes, I can. Sorry, thank you for reminding me. If I click on the little star icon, it is now a favorite folder and it is pinned up to the top of the interface. Thank you for prompting me. This clip is used in this sequence, VMAP Live storyboard. So you saw Nestor create it. You saw me pick it up later in Create. This could also now be picked up directly in Premiere. So we have a panel within Premiere that allows us to move EDLs, and I use that term advisedly. I hope the audience understands when I say that no media has moved. So I just point to the existing recordings, be they growing recordings, be they old existing recordings. I am just pointing to them in place. And again, so the import into Adobe is instant because it's not an import, it is a reference. So that's an important thing and an important distinction and an important thing that we guard the speed to air, and we understand the demands on our customers, and everything we do is focused around giving the fastest possible experience. So I'll look at some of these other sub clips that I created earlier. I'll look at some of my sequences that I had created earlier. Here are all the clips that are used in my sequence, the storyboard 2 with graphics that I showed you earlier. We are tracking everything that happens in a sequence, be it our sequence, be it an Adobe sequence, be it an Adobe Teams project, and or a not Adobe Teams project. By that, I mean the little .pproj files that can be useful for customers who are not interested in collaborating at the team projects level, but still need a level of media management. How do I know what I can archive? How do I know what I can purge? How do I know what is used in a given sequence? Well, we are now exposing all of that information and allowing for a real end-to-end, that is all the way from ingest to archive and beyond. The one thing I don't know that we made a fine enough point about is at any point in the process, from Nestor's original storyboard, from Nestor's original clip, I can externalize or otherwise export this media. So we have a couple of targets that we just created just for purposes of this demo. I can always restore to an EVS server, and for an EVS operator, this is familiar territory. So I can restore to a specific location, 111A, for example. I can just export it to some external target, and there will be various things that the media management team has defined. I am free to add the metadata profile I wish. Again, a media manager can specify that something externalized must have one and must satisfy various fields.
And I just will add one more thing, Mike, if you don't mind, that you can have as many metadata profiles as you wish. So you are not limited to just one. You can do as many with as many fields inside as well. So full flexibility.
Yeah, and that's critical for us and for media management activities. It's a difficult thing to predict all of the metadata that one might want to contribute to an asset on day one. You probably have a good idea at ingest, but things evolve. You may want to change profiles. You may want to add or augment profiles. So we're very, very flexible in that regard. And you saw how we handle the data specifically, that is linking to various external sources as necessary. So I'm going to ask my colleagues who are in the room here with me if there's any questions and anything we need to address.
I think I'm going to stress, Mike, that there's really kind of three creative approaches that we demonstrated today. So one is as a producer, a rough cut. Two is maybe as a journalist or whomever, you use the create tool to finish a sequence, to craft it more nicely. But third, we don't have time to go into today is the link to Adobe. So if you want to do something even a finer editing or there's a very seamless integration with Adobe. I don't know whether Diego or yourself want to add any color to that, but
no, but we do have a question right now from Vivek, and well, thank you for joining us today, first of all. And the question is about the content. Is the source of the content is high-res and low-res files based on the nearline storage, or are these clips from the XT server? So, Mike, do you want to answer that?
I'm sure you could do an excellent job.
I could as well. Yeah, I could.
I'm happy to take it, and you can augment as you wish, Igor. So these are video files on nearline. EVS considers our server online. We consider any other spinning disk, any other storage, we consider to be nearline. So they're on some spinning disk that is under our management. So as you saw Nestor create the ingest job, it was concurrently recording on the XT server and in simultaneously and in real time, or faster than real time if I went into the past, writing a copy of the content to a nearline. It happened to be writing a high-res and a low-res, again, XTCAM and H.264 proxy in my case, but we are completely extensible, and there can be n number of high-res resolutions and n number of proxy resolutions. So hopefully, Vivek, that answers your question. We do, of course, support, I can browse the XT train directly, and I can see and do things, and I can see clips that operators have made, and I can create a transfer to the nearline by a simple drag and drop.
Yeah, so if the clip is, we do reference the clips from XT servers inside our management and create all applications. You can see them. If you drag and drop it on the player and there is no low-res proxy available, it will be generated on the fly. Just would like to mention one more time, probably, that we all work in low-res because it's a web browser HTML5 based UI. So of course, all the media behind has its high resolution, and on the render process, this is the resolution that will be used. in, let's say, most of the cases if it's available. But inside the browser, we do browse in the low resolution.
Indeed. Indeed. Remember, Nestor's in Ottawa and Igor's in Paris, so you know, we're at quite distance here. So one other thing, and then again, feel free to ask questions. We did talk about metadata. We did not discuss how to search against metadata. So notice, by the way, sorry, before we proceed, here are all of the metadata fields that are searchable. It could be a bit much. It's a lot, as you can see. But I know from Nestor's example that he entered a cameraman. So I start typing, and the system is helping me. And in his news event metadata profile, he had a cameraman. He happened to, I remember, add Serge. So notice the drop-down list here in search is consistent with the input stage where Nestor had applied this profile to media asset on ingest. And notice I was navigated down, so it's sensitive to my navigation. There are no assets that match that criteria in my subclips folder, but as I navigate up, there are several assets that actually match the search criteria, which I said was Serge. And you can see the locators that Igor and I were placing on this earlier. As I use the A and S key, you can see me navigate across them. So I need my yellow card, there it is. I need this guy reacting, there it is. So that's how quickly we can annotate, and that's how quickly we can search and discover. And again, that is key to the way EVS thinks about handling ingest. Everything we do is edit while capture. Everything we do is play while transfer. That's kind of baked into our DNA. And we follow through with that here in this interface.
And that's actually a really good segue into the next question, Mike, which is from Zbigniew. Are you going to implement AI for supporting operators? Now, obviously, when it comes to metadata searching, that to me anyway, brings up the question of natural language search. Yeah, I'll let you answer.
So we are keenly aware of that, and we have several initiatives. We have an innovations team in-house that does the the fun and interesting stuff of discovering new ways of indexing content. So that would be like facial recognition, that would be vector analyses, and then we have a whole team dedicated to building search against it, and that would include neural search, natural language search. So yes is the answer, and if you remember earlier in the presentation, we have this data engine. One of the input types it can receive is from these external AI-based systems. Our first take on this is that we will do it in a completely self-contained way. That is no cloud requirement. Of course, if you have an existing cloud infrastructure, of course, if you're paying already for facial recognition in one of the cloud vendors, one of the cloud providers, we will happily support that. We will consume the data that service is creating. We will append it or allocate it to the appropriate media resources against time. So that is, it will be time stamped, and it will get you to the interesting point. But also, we will offer this in the near future as a dedicated installation on-prem. So no cloud requirement. Again, we'll support either method, and the data model that we have put as a back-end piece here supports both types of input. So we will do our own, and/or we will consume from an external provider of that information. Likewise, we are working on natural language search and neural search in general. I am convinced, this is my personal rant, by the way, I am convinced that the way humans search for information is going to change radically in the next, I don't know, 2 years. I would have said longer, but the last year has been remarkably
so fast.
Yeah, we're moving fast here. So I say 2, but I could be underestimating that. That being said, we are 100% focused on how to provide natural language search. So in the old days, which of course is right now, I build a search through this, let me just see things that were recorded today. Let me just see things that were recorded from source X, be it a news feed, be it whatever. In the near future, you will just speak to the system. So we've demonstrated this at NAB and IBC, and we will continue to work towards these things. I'm not sure where we'll land yet because this is evolving so quickly that we're trying to understand what it is we should do on behalf of our customer to make the search process easier.
I guess just the summary is we have the APIs. We've done proof of concepts already. There is stuff in the works. I will just add, maybe a question or a comment, Mike, which is that in addition to search, there is logging, there is the concept of auto clipping as well, and that's more advanced topics to discuss maybe when we have more time.
Yeah, thank you for making sure I go.
And we have a question from Riho about also the metadata as we are staying within this, let's say, topic. Is it possible to integrate Opta sport data feeds matching timecode-based events to the recorded media?
Yes, 100%. So we do this. Do you want to speak to that, Igor?
Yeah, I was just mentioning that not only Opta, basically any data.
Not only Opta, yeah. Again, we are as generically accepting of a data input type as we can imagine. So Opta, yes. Others, yes. We have a long list of supported ones. So if you have a specific request that maybe is not on our list or we haven't been aware of previously, we're happy to integrate and we're happy to accept. So the way we built the engine is generically, so we can support any type of data stream. We can consume it and we can apply the information based on time to any number of assets. And by the way, it may be more than one asset. It may be camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, for example. So all of those things are in service now and possible. I'm letting you guys read the question.
Yeah. Well, we have also a question from Kolya about different aspect ratios in the timeline. Can we handle that?
So I think there's different ways to answer that question. Maybe Mike, one of the things that comes to mind when we talk about aspect ratio, obviously, is 4:3 and kind of some of the standard broadcast ratios, which might be handled with integrations to infrastructure, right? Because we do have an infrastructure portfolio and links between our different solutions. But the person might be referring to the portrait versus landscape as well.
Yeah, I presume that's the question. So first, yes. Native 9x16, as you see when I create a new sequence, I can define how many video tracks, how many audio tracks, my frame rate. But additionally, I can define my aspect ratio. So 16:9, 9x16 being the most obvious ones. Additionally, if I have 9x16 content that I wish to use for broadcast, we have this pillar box effect that will, with a button press, apply the wings, that is the expand and blur business, to allow 9x16 content to coexist in a broadcast output.
And we have a comment from Kolya in the chat that he meant 9x16.
I assumed, yeah.
So, and then next question is from Mauricio. So Mauricio is asking, are all these modules, including creative tools, ready to be delivered and licensing by tool or by users? Maybe by pack of tools, or so Mike, can you speak up a bit about the licensing model?
Yeah, sure. Yes, potentially yes. I'd be interested to know what your specific use cases are, and
I think I have a guess. I think I have a guess about
it. Is there someone you know?
I think so.
All right, fine. So we will reach out to you and we will have that conversation. If Igor knows you, he knows where I am, and we're happy to have this conversation.
And then one more question from Vivek. Does this support media only created by EVS, or can you mount other storages aspects such as Avid Nexus?
Well, all right. So you did pick the one that's difficult because Avid Nexus is a very specific file system, and only Avid can manage Nexus storage. Now, that being said, Nexus does not support basic file system notifications in a uniform way, and so to a degree, yes. There's an asterisk there, and there's some nuance to that, and I'm happy to discuss with our friends in Burlington, Mass, as to how that could work. So far, though, we've said no, and so far Avid has said no, that only Avid tools can manage Nexus. That being said, we do have many customers who ingest to Nexus, check into Interplay and or Media Central, and are happily editing while capturing in Media Composer. Again, I've showed you the Premiere bits here. I mean, I haven't shown you Premiere specifically, but we've spoken to it. All of that edit while capture stuff is available in Adobe as well. And I think I did say at the outset that we imagine ourselves as agnostic as we can be to your NLE of choice, be it Adobe, be it Avid, be it Resolve. We are we consider them all equal citizens, and we do what we can. We do what we are allowed to and are enabled to do based on each of those vendors' preferences. So I hope I answered that question appropriately.
I think you did, Mike. Just going back to Mauricio, I think what Yegor was saying is we all need to go to Brazil and visit Mauricio to answer.
All right, fair enough.
That's exactly what I meant.
Fair enough.
It's been 2 months since, so I have to.
All right. Any other questions?
So no more questions. So
all right, because I can't see the question, so I rely on you guys. But I think we're we've gone even honestly further than I expected. So good. I'm happy. I'm glad. Those of you who are still with us, I'm glad you stuck with us. If there's no further questions, I think we can bring this to a close. We always remain available via email, via text, via chat, via carrier pigeon, via owl. We are here to answer your questions. We are here to engage. We are here to talk. If our email addresses are easy to deduce. If you don't know one of us, if you don't have a direct sales contact or a direct contact within the company, there's a contact us on the website. Please feel free. We will, I promise you, we will respond. We will engage. We are happy to talk. I appreciate you guys who have joining us for the duration.
Thanks,
so
everyone.
I think that's it. And I'm going to say goodbye from Liège, and I'll let you guys give your own goodbyes from wherever you are in the world.
Goodbye from Canada.
And goodbye from Paris. Thank you very much.
All right.